Thank you, Mr. Zoom Master. Welcome to Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmasters Club for leadership development. We are one of top 5 clubs globally. I am Yosli Joseph, your sergeant at arms for today's meeting. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Leadership Speak is the premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our timer has a virtual hand raised so we all can immediately see who is keeping the time. Our Toastmaster of the day is none of Tony Bratschitsch. Toastmaster Tony is a past District 86 governor. He is a 17 years old Toastmaster. He is as well a charter member of Leadership Speak. Professionally, distinguished Toastmaster Tony Bratschitsch is a business consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome warmly our Toastmaster of the day, distinguished Toastmaster Tony Bratschitsch. Mr. The virtual lead is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Ralph Smedley conducted the first official Toastmaster meeting on October the 22nd, 1924 in Santa Ana, California, which is near Los Angeles. Now we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of that meeting. Now, this meeting's theme is critical thinking. Today, in this meeting, Toastmasters will apply critical thinking in their speeches and evaluations, just like they did back then. That has not changed in 100 years. This involves observation, analysis, and application. But first, let's consider Ralph Smedley's legacy. It includes Toastmasters' missions and values. And as our Sergeant at Arms, Yoseli, just mentioned about our mission, the Toastmaster International mission is, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which we members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater confidence and personal growth. Now, missions tell us where we are going, but how do we get there? With values. And as you know, Toastmasters has core values, and they are the dedication to excellence, integrity, respect, and service to the individual, to each one of us. I wish to offer something for your critical thinking. Instead of values being considered as values, why not think of them as behaviors? Our behaviors, how we think, behave, and act every day of our lives. For example, do we consciously observe, analyze, and apply our desired behaviors to where we want to go in our lives? If so, wouldn't that be part of Ralph Smedley's true legacy? Now, before we dwell too much on that, there's something else you should consider. It happened before the first official meeting, which was October 22nd, 2024. Ralph Smedley actually conducted his first Toastmaster meeting on March the 24th, 1905, 19 years before, about 100 miles from Chicago, Illinois, in a place called Bloomington. Back then, like it happens to all of us, things happen in his life. He got promoted, he moved around, went from place to place until he ended up in Santa Ana in 1922. Then 2 years later, when he was established, Ralph Smedley revived his dream and conducted that first official meeting. Therefore, imagine, it took Ralph Smedley 19 years to securely launch the first official meeting. That says a lot about his dedication. And that says a lot about his legacy. And obviously, over the past 100 years, there's been a lot of changes. Yet, some things have stayed the same. I have a quick story about what I have observed in my journey through Toastmasters. In 1977, I joined Toastmasters for the first time. I stayed for 18 months until I got transferred from place to place. It sounds like a familiar story, and it happens to a lot of us. Now, at that time, 1977, Toastmasters had recently celebrated its 50th anniversary, and women were recently allowed to become official members. Helen Blanchard became the first women president in 1985. So back then, Toastmasters membership had more than doubled because of that. Now, in that year, 1977, the club I belonged to were all men. It was very formal. We wore suits and ties every meeting. And every meeting had dinners. And our club fees actually were relatively expensive because we had to pay for the dinners. And I got transferred and I moved around. And 29 years later, I returned to Toastmasters, where I have stayed for 17 continuous years. So for me, Ralph Smedley's legacy are the mission, the values, and the behaviors that I try, emphasis on try, to apply daily in everything, including family, friends, work, Toastmasters, and the community. So now, for your critical thinking, the big question, the most important question is, what does Ralph Smedley's legacy mean to you? We will now proceed to the toast. And it is my pleasure to introduce someone who's actually established quite a legacy for herself. And those are my words. I was not prompted to say this, but you will understand if you haven't already. Rozy Rana has been a Toastmaster for 19 years. She is a past Smedley District Director, founder of District 114 in East Africa. She brought Toastmasters to East Africa. Rozy, please, we would appreciate the honor of you presenting the toast.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. 100 years ago, as we just heard, the first official Toastmasters Club was formed, and it was formed in the basement of the YMCA. Fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, from that humble beginning, the movement has grown today to have over 16,000 clubs across 150 countries. We gather here today to celebrate a milestone. 100 years of growth, transformation, and unwavering vision. we celebrate 100 years. It is only fitting to honor this journey and the man who had this powerful vision, Ralph Smedley. This vision has impacted countless individuals, resulted in the formation of several leaders and powerful communicators who continue to inspire. I am living proof of the transformative impact of Toastmasters. I was born in a tiny village in Africa. Speaking at a global platform like this seemed like so distant as the stars. But today, thanks to Toastmasters' guidance and support, I have become a confident communicator. I have acquired leadership skills and I have become successful in life. I owe a lot of this transformation and growth to Toastmasters. But this is just my journey. This is just my story. We heard Tony. Each one of us has unique stories. But the common thread that binds us together is the transformative impact that Toastmasters has had on our growth. Over the 100 years, millions of individuals have passed through Toastmasters. Some have moved on, but we have seen many transform from trembling leaders or having trembling voices to becoming inspiring, confident leaders who have taken up great positions. And it's not just as we reflect on the past, because the past 100 years come with many stories, but we can look forward with optimism. Our program has continued to evolve. It has evolved, and the skills that we can now impart remain relevant, real life skills that will help leaders in their journey in this dynamic, changing world. Yet there are some core aspects that remain solid and true. The values that Tony spoke about, the courage to speak, the drive to lead, and very importantly, that community spirit and desire to serve. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is bright thanks to this incredible organization of ours, the one we are toasting to today. So I invite you to raise your glasses as in a toast to Toastmasters, to yesterday, to today, and to future generations. So, to Toastmasters,
To yesterday,
today, and
and
future generations.
generation.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Rozy, for that very appropriate toast. We're now going to have a video presentation. It's going to be brief, but it's going to be beautiful. So please, let's commence with the video. Well, it looks like someone blew out the candles, so we're ready to go. You may have noticed our agenda is slightly different today. We will have our trainer will speak. We'll have two speakers, and I'll introduce each one accordingly. And we will have two rounds of evaluations, one set for each speaker. And our general evaluator is going to be a very busy individual when that happens. To get things started, I'm going to ask our timer to describe the timing. I will introduce our timer. Our timer is Rana Ursilia, one of our newer members. And Renan is a human resources professional with 4 years of experience as a Toastmaster. And Toastmastering is one of his passions. He is glad to be part of Leadership Speak, and he looks forward to contributing to this group. And we're very happy to have you, Renan. And thank you for being today's timer, and please describe your role.
Okay, thank you for that great introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests in every part of the world. I am Renan Ercilia, your timer for today, and I shall time you according to the times as per the agenda. At the end of each session, I shall post the times into the chat box. You will notice that I'm going to raise a green color as my background. That will mean that you already reached the minimum required time for your speech and for the prepared speech. I'm going to show this green at 5 minutes, yellow, time in between, and then red, maximum allotted time for the speech. While for the evaluation, 2 to 3 minutes, green at 2, yellow, time in between or 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then red at 3 minutes. Every speech has 30 seconds grace period or the speaker or evaluator to wrap up the speech. Otherwise, it will be considered as overtime. You can see a virtual raised hand for me as a timer for you to easily see me as the timer for today's meeting. Then at the end of the meeting, I will give my report. That's all for now, and back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Okay, thank you very much, Renan. It is my pleasure to introduce our trainer, who is Brahm Memone, also our club president. Brahm has been a dedicated member of Toastmasters for 28 years, and I am, honored, pleased, proud to say I have known Brahm for 17 of those years. And I have to say that I just think Brahm just gets better and better all along, and I've seen a lot in 17 years. Brahm received 3 DTMs, Distinguished Toastmaster Awards. He's been a leadership coach and a trainer, and one of his most impactful initiatives has been the Global Leadership Impact Summit, which is his brainchild. Creativity is part of Brahm's DNA, and he has a passion for high performance leadership project, which hopefully we're all going to participate in the next 3 days. His professional coaching program is Pro Speak and Lead, and it's a continuously rated 5-star program. And Brahm always has something to say that is meaningful to us and how it should affect our behaviors. So Brahm will now give us a training session. Brahm Memone.
I owe everything to Ralph Smedley. Whatever I'm talking about today, whatever we do today, whatever we've been doing in Toastmasters for 100 years, whatever I have been doing in Toastmasters for 28 years, I owe it to one man. One man who 100 years ago dreamt of something, and he didn't dream of such a big thing. He just dreamt of helping a few young people where he was at the YMCA to be able to speak in public and have some leadership skills at the same time. That's all he had. But look what the dream did. And this is where I am today because of his dream. I would like to thank Ralph Smedley for allowing us to come together. If you look at the screen, we are from all over the world. Currently, we have, I believe, 26 or 20, I've lost count, yes, 26 or 27 countries from around the world in Leadership Speak. We have members from Philippines, Indonesia, Guyana, the Caribbean, Switzerland, France, Spain, Kenya. I'm from Kenya, by the way, and I live in Canada. We have members from India, and currently somebody who's right here in our meeting who's joining from Bangladesh in the next couple of days, and so on and so forth. All because of one man, Ralph Smedley. Now, it has given us the opportunity to think about how are we communicating, and are we communicating effectively? The number one key skill that you all have to have is not your degree. It's not being an engineer or a nurse or an artist or a lawyer or a business consultant. The number one key skill is what? Anyone here? Just shout out. What is your number one key skill to have?
Communication.
Communication. Communication is the key skill, but how do you communicate is all down to critical thinking, because it is critical thinking that allows you to connect with your audience, because how are you going to craft that message, whether it is to one person, whether it's to 100 people, whether it is to 10,000 people, or my dream in a couple of years' time to 30,000 people, how am I going to craft that message with that critical thinking that will make an impact and it'll be received by the audience? So, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you're crafting any presentation, whether it is for one person, whether you're negotiating something, whether you're persuading something, whether you are inspiring someone, informing, instructing, entertaining, or motivating somebody, one person, 10,000 people, you need to have critical thinking in your communication. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would urge you to listen very carefully at what we have. All this information that I have today for you is my experience, by the way, in Toastmasters for 28 years and as a coach for more than 30 years as a coach. This is what I've gathered through my experience. This is my opinion, however, but it is my experience, and I know it works because I've talked to thousands of people all over the world, and it works for me. I hope it works for you. Consider this. As a communicator, if you want to get effective at critical thinking, we all get an evaluation feedback in Toastmasters Club, right? You all agree? There's always feedback. Why? Because we want to get better at what we do. We want to improve our craft of communicating effectively. And so every communication, every time we stand up, even the Toastmaster of the day gets, today he won't, but in our club, we do evaluate the Toastmaster as well. And then, of course, all the role players get evaluated by the general evaluator, and the evaluators evaluate the speaker. Everything has a feedback. As a speaker, it is very important to communicate with your evaluator before you begin to come here and begin to speak. You have a partnership with your evaluator. And I see that I've been around for 28 years. That is a big miss. It's a big miss that speakers and evaluators don't think of themselves as partners in getting better. When the evaluator is evaluating, he gets better at speaking. When the speaker is crafting their speech with critical thinking, they're getting better at evaluations, because now they're saying, how will this impact the audience? Always communicate with the evaluator. You have got an evaluation before, which will incorporate into your current speech presentation. When you're planning, preparing, and practicing, you'll incorporate that feedback. You will communicate with your evaluator for the next presentation you are doing, that you are practicing now. And you will tell the evaluator what are the things that you are really working on, and the evaluator should note those down and give you an evaluation based on what you're really working on, besides the purpose of the project that you're doing. So it is a key thing that is a big miss in Toastmasters, in my experience, of course, in 28 years. And I've been very guilty as well of not communicating with my evaluator, so I know even better, right? And if I know that if I've taken the evaluation from my previous evaluator, incorporated it into my present communication that I'm going to do, the speech or presentation I'm going to make, and communicate with my evaluator and really have a communication that is a partnership in what I want to achieve in this presentation, I will move faster forward, much faster. We are all guilty. I know we are all guilty, right? Have you ever prepared a speech the day of the presentation? Have you ever prepared a speech the night before or 2 days before? You have, I have, we've all done it. And you know, it doesn't serve us, it doesn't serve our audience, it doesn't serve the evaluator, it doesn't serve anybody. But we've done it and we continue to do it. And so we have to break out of that mold and do something better if we want to progress further. And so critical thinking takes time. It takes time to have critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen. And so this glass ceiling that we have, we need to break past the glass ceiling and get to the next level. And of course, every time we have a climb, there's a plateau, there's a next glass ceiling is there, you know, and then we sort of rest around, look around, sure, look at the view and indulge in the view. But then we must start climbing again. That's mastery. I've been in Toastmasters for 28 years for mastery. I want to become a master communicator. I want to speak to 30,000 people. That is why I'm here. People ask me, why are you in Toastmasters for 28 years? Well, now you know. Constantly breaking that glass ceiling. And today, I hope I'm breaking another glass ceiling for myself, and I'll look around for a little while, and then I'll climb to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, limitlessly. Will I be a Toastmaster forever? I don't know. But here I am, and I know that the future looks bright for me. So let's all have that mindset of the growth mindset. How am I communicating with my evaluator? Am I really incorporating my feedback from the time I received it into my current presentation? And what will it look like in the future as I progress? Do I have a purpose? Do I have a vision of where I want to go with my communication skills and become a better leader? So here's the glass ceiling, ladies and gentlemen. Break it. And this is what we are going. This is how we are going to do it. How we are going to crack that glass ceiling to the next level today. And let's take the journey to the next plateau. Let's take that climb up the incline, steep incline for some of us, of course. Now, here's one thing. We are in Advanced Toastmasters Club. Leadership Speak is an Advanced Toastmasters Club. Here's something that I would like to say. Whatever happens in Las Vegas, what is the statement? Whatever happens in Las Vegas, shout out. Tony, what?
Stays in Las
Stays in Vegas.
Whatever happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. Correct. However, I have a contention with that. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do anything in leadership speak if you can't use it in real life, because there's going to be a permanent change. Consider this, that whatever happens in leadership speak, whatever you do here should not stay here. You're not doing a speech for a Toastmasters meeting. You are doing a speech in an advanced club. The only reason why you're in an advanced club is so that you get better at taking it out in the real world. Ultimately, your goal ought to be that the speech I'm doing here the same speech I can do out in the real world, and it'll be heard by the audience in the real world. And if it's in my boardroom, I'll get promoted. If it's in my boardroom and with my team, I might get paid better because now I'm communicating better. This is the same presentation I'm doing outside in the real world. Or I can become a professional speaker or have a side gig and go and do a $20,000 speech. Remember, professional speakers get paid a lot of money for 1 hour, okay? It is not like $1,000 or $500. It is a lot of money. If you know how to communicate and have that critical thinking in your presentation. And critical thinking means a long-term planning, preparation, strategic planning into your speech and how it's going to impact the audience. This particular presentation, it took me ages to create. And can it be perfected still? Yes, it will be. I spent a lot of time over the past week for this presentation. Whatever you do in leadership speak must not stay in leadership speak, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the beginning of critical thinking. It's not like I'm just doing a presentation 2 days or a day before. I'll put together something and I'll just come here and speak. And hopefully, you know, my evaluator will like something and I'll be validated. You are not here for validation purposes. You are here for growth purposes. So let's grow together. And let's create speeches where critical thinking is present so that I can do the same speech out in the real world. I think I've made my point, right? Because we're an advanced club. I mean, if you're in a community club, that is different, right? In a community club, you could do a speech, prepare it 2 days before, get a little bit of feedback, you know, and then I've seen Toastmasters. I visit a lot of clubs globally. Not only that, but while I've been a Toastmaster for the past 28 years, even in the clubs that I've been in, there's this glass ceiling. There have been Toastmasters for 10 years, 20 years, even 30, 40 years, and there's this glass ceiling, you know, they're speaking the same that they spoke when they first started out as Toastmasters. Well, after they had the fundamental skills down packed, their speech that was like 30 years ago is the same sort of speech now. They have just stayed the same, and you don't want that. I don't want that for myself either. And so this particular way of speaking today, I couldn't speak last year. And next year when I speak, a year from now, my speaking will be different than what I'm speaking today. For me, I hope it is the same for you. And that is why at Leadership Speak, for those of you who are new members, you don't have this yet, but those of you who are established members who've been members for 2 months or before, you got this a sheet, a goal sheet, a Google form to complete where it said, what's your goal in Toastmasters here in Leadership Speak? What's your goal outside in the real world? How many levels are you going to do? You remember that? What are your strengths? What is your leadership style? What is your communication style? Remember that? And you fill that in. Why was that? For the guests here, we ask our members to do that so that they can connect the dots between the journey inside of Toastmasters to the real world out there and plot what they're going to do here in Toastmasters so that they can take it out in the real world out there. That is the reason why we do that. So let's not be Las Vegas. Whatever happens in Leadership Speak, technological problems a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, just bear with me. So whatever happens in Leadership Speak must go to the market. Or, of course, if you are just starting out or you've been in leadership for a little while, I don't expect you to make a presentation that will take you to marketplace tomorrow, then your next presentation, but that is where you got to be headed towards. That's why we always say, what is your goal to the end of 2024? What is your goal for June of 2025 and so on? Remember, in your goal sheet, we ask all those questions because we want you to take whatever you're doing here into the marketplace, whether it's in the boardroom, whether it's whether you're in sales, you're talking to one person selling whatever it is that you're selling. You're an entrepreneur. What are you going to be doing out in the real world? You are learning it here, and it must go to the marketplace. And that is why we say at Leadership Speak, do the speeches that you are doing out in the real world in your boardroom with your teams and so on. If you are an expert in IT, and you want to get better at presenting, do the IT speeches here. I don't want to hear a story about whatever it is that you have. I want to hear your story about IT, or what is that presentation you're making in the real world. Do it here, get better, get feedback, and take it out in the real world and get paid or promoted or positioned wherever you are. Did you get that? That's why an advanced club exists that is called Leadership Speak. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So now then you say, okay, so what's the big deal then? Okay, so I've got two things here. Here it says evaluator, it says speaker over there, right? Because I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to create a speech and have critical thinking. And I'm not going to tell you the mechanics of it, of course, but I'm going to tell you that the thinking power, the thinking behind it is an overview, because we only have 45 minutes in max. This is not a full day presentation where you're learning the full critical thinking and you're writing your speech, and then we sort of look at it and all that. It's not that. So this is just an overview, but I hold classes every Tuesday. I'm there for 2 hours, and every Thursday. So every week for 4 hours, I'm committed to coaching anyone who wants to get better in the speaking, in the communication, in the leadership skills, whether it's in Toastmasters or whether it's in the real world. As you know, I'm available without fail. I'm always there. Come and tap into it. And there's other people who come as well. And so I'm not the only one there, though I tend to lead those classes, coaching and mentoring classes, but you're all welcome to join, of course, if you're a member. This is only meant for members. So if any guest here is thinking, I want that, well, become a member. Leya will be posting a guest book in the chat currently, and you can fill in that guest book for us, and we will get in touch with you. Leya will get in touch with you. She's the Vice President of Membership, and you can begin your journey into looking into how to become a member at Leadership Speak. But let's get back to this, the power of your voice. The power of your voice can do this. It can inspire people. It can inform, instruct people. It can motivate people, and it can persuade, entertain, and so on. And that's what it can do. And therefore, if you are, as a speaker, if that's what you're doing, then your evaluator should, on the other hand, be able to say, okay, what is this speech about? Is this speech about inspiring somebody? Is it about informing somebody? Did they instruct anything? Well, from those who are members here, you know, I always have my speeches, my presentations only about instruction and information, because this is what I do in the real world. I'm not inventing new speeches for Toastmasters because I don't want to. I don't do that in the real world. I can't use those in the real world. Whatever I use in the real world, I'm bringing it here and doing it here to practice my craft so that I can do it in the real world. If I'm really inventing just speeches for here, for Toastmasters, then when I go in the real world, I'm at a loss. I can't speak. Now I have to reinvent myself in the real world and then say, okay, what sort of speech am I going to do in the real world? And then I don't have any mentors, and I don't have any evaluators in the real world. And then I begin to wonder, how am I going to succeed? So that's the reason, ladies and gentlemen, I say, in an advanced club, which is Leadership Speak, find the power of your voice, understand whether you are inspiring somebody, informing somebody. What are you doing? Are you motivating, persuading, or entertaining? And so for the evaluator should know, what is this speech about? Right? And then this is all to do with critical thinking. So before you put together your speech, you have to understand, why do I want to do this speech? Why at this particular time? And if you remember, the speakers, we have this form for speakers to fill out for their introduction. And in that introduction, we do ask, why this speech at this time? And what is this speech about? See, now you're connecting the dots, right? As to why we are doing all those minute detailed things. We are preparing you for the real world. So whether you're a speaker, whether you're a speaker or an evaluator, as a speaker, you'll be crafting it this way, and you, as an evaluator, you'll see, oh, what is this speech doing? And you can mention that in your evaluation. The first thing you could say is, this speech was about, this is what I got about the speech. Right? And this is the reason why I got these two headers here, because I'm speaking to both of you, the speaker and the evaluator. because it's the one and the same thing. So all speeches, ladies and gentlemen, all speeches must have a title. We all know that. My presentation is a title. It's there in the agenda, right? All speeches and all presentations should grab an audience's attention in some form or the other. There's so many different ways of doing this. There are about 10, 15 that I can think of. I won't go into all of them. I might mention 3 or 4 of them as we go along. And the body and the title, and the body has to be relevant to the title and the opening, and the conclusion, which is the close, has to be crisp on a high note that summarizes the whole speech, and it is always about the audience. So before you're crafting a speech, you have to think of what is the audience's takeaway, and are they going to be informed or instructed, inspired, motivated, and what am I doing for the audience's takeaway? It is always about the audience. It's not about you. In an advanced club at Leadership Speak. This is not a community club. Of course, as I said, take it with a grain of salt if you wish, but this is my opinion. Okay, I'm the club founder, so well, I might have something to say about it. It must always be about the audience. All right. So how do you structure a speech, ladies and gentlemen? This is how you structure a speech. Right? It is always about the audience, the presentation, how you structure the presentation, how you are going to think about that presentation. Now, do you realize that if you do it a day before, 2 days before, it's not going to work? It's now becoming very apparent, ladies and gentlemen. Am I making my point? Is it really sinking in, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that. How is the presentation going to be structured? What is that call to action, that conclusion for the audience? What do they need? What is that message that is burning within me that I need to tell the audience so that they can have a takeaway? In an advanced club, of course. Think that way. Critical thinking kicks in. Critical thinking kicks in right away as soon as you begin to ask these questions, right? So if this is the call to action and this is a conclusion, what is going to be my title? See, there's highlighted call to action and title in the same color. There's a tie-in between what the title should be and ought to be to the call to action. And therefore, what is my opening? Besides the title, how am I going to answer? When I open my mouth, what am I going to say? The audience will say, okay, now I know what the journey could be. And they will be paying attention. And then you construct, between the conclusion and the title in the opening, you begin to construct your ideas into a draft. And then it might change the conclusion, it might change the title because now you're putting your ideas down, but you know the direction you're going in. And that's all to do with critical thinking. And of course, will your presentation inform, inspire, motivate, persuade, entertain? And for some of you who are in sales, even negotiate. You're probably creating a negotiation type of presentation, right? If you're an entrepreneur, if you are in the court defending somebody, you're probably negotiating something or persuading. Sometimes even inspiring, maybe all of them if you're in the court. And Tony knows that very well because he's always in court. So ladies and gentlemen, for critical thinking, start with the conclusion in mind. Start with the conclusion in mind. So speaker, start thinking about that. As an evaluator, the first thing you should, well, you made your notes, but then you should start your evaluation with what was the conclusion? What did I get from this particular presentation? Was there a takeaway for me, for the audience? And the speaker should therefore start with, what was the conclusion? What am I going to tell the audience? What are they taking away? So it means know your audience. I had to spend quite a lot of time introspecting as to what audience am I going to talk to today. I really did. And I knew that there would be a lot of guests. Let me see. There's 49 people here, so we have got about 20 guests, I believe, or in that region, and the Toastmasters. But most of our guests are of course, already Toastmasters because this is an advanced club. So I know my audience today, and hence this presentation was crafted with that in mind, but especially for Leadership Speak, because we want to take our speaking to the next level, right, ladies and gentlemen, those who are members? So what is the key message that I want to convey, and will it impact their lives? Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you speak, it's like a bell curve. Some of on this side of the bell curve, well, for you, it's on this side of the bell curve, people don't care. It doesn't matter what you say, but there's a small percentage. And on this side of the bell curve, everyone wants to sort of go, wow, what an amazing presentation. I want more of it. And then in the middle, in the bell curve, it's like, okay, you know, I'm a bit skeptical, but okay, let me take notes, and you know, you'll take your time. I'm usually somewhere in between there. I'm always skeptical at first, and then it takes me a bit of time. I introspect and say, okay, what's in this message that I can take away? And then finally it kicks in for me. This is how I work. So what key message do you want to convey, and how will it impact the audience's lives, right? What action do you want the audience to take? The call to action, the audience's takeaway. And of course, as an evaluator, you're going to be looking at this. As a speaker, when you're crafting and your critical thinking will take that into account. Remember, so that's why these two headings, okay? I don't have to repeat about what the evaluator is looking for, what the speaker should be doing in their critical thinking. That's what it means. If possible, always close on a high note or a note that will be remembered. Never close a speech in a very sad note and leave the audiences down somewhere in the pits. And I've seen speakers do that at times. And I perhaps have been guilty of that myself years ago, and before I became aware of what I'm doing to the audience. All right. Leave on a high note. It is always about the audience in Leadership Speak, in an advanced club. We want you to thrive in the real world. So building a speech, the structure, how are you going to start thinking? The ideation process. Well, if you look at this triangle, and this is a speech or a presentation, okay? So here's the background information that's going on in your head, and there's some details going on in your head, and say, okay, I want to present something based on there, or this is what I do at work. How can I make it into a presentation? What's going to inspire my coworkers, or make a presentation in the boardroom, or talk to my boss, or a key person that is on my team that I need to have a conversation with. So here are my ideas. So that's the background details, right? But based on the background details, what is the one thing that they need to take away, or a couple of things? One thing is best. What is it that they want to take away? What's the key message, call to action, the takeaway for the audience? Is the conclusion. So you work on the conclusion first based on what those ideas are. I mean, you draft up the ideas, but you don't draft up the presentation yet until you know, okay, this is, I think, the direction, and this is where I need to take this conversation to. This is what the takeaway will be at the end. And based on that, then you don't start from here, but you start from, of course, the conclusion. Start from here, right? And then, as we all know now, by now, this presentation is based on what's the key message, the conclusion, all right, and so on. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you construct a speech. All right. Once you know what this is, and it could change, you know, shift a little bit, of course, but then you start your title and your opening after that. You already know the background ideas that created this, right? Then you work on the title and the opening, and then what do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is what you do. The body of the speech. The body of the speech is key supporting ideas that you have, the benefits, the issues, the research that you have done. What is that research? If you did any research, I mean, or it could be that you know all this stuff and you don't have to do research. So whatever that is, and the anecdotes, stories, or concepts, or whatever makes that speech come alive and get that message across so that you're heard, is the next thing that we'll incorporate into your speech. And if it's a 7-minute presentation, maybe 2 to 3 points in your story or in the concept For example, I do instructional type of presentation. So, but this is a 45 minutes presentation. There's a lot of points. Okay. But if it's a 7-minute speech, of course, I will limit it to whatever that is, so that the audience doesn't get overwhelmed. And so this is how we construct a speech. Now, do you realize if you're constructing your speech even a week before, you're not doing justice to your project. You're not doing justice to how fast you can progress to the next level. You're not. It's all up to you, of course, how you want to do this and how fast you want to progress. Whether you, if I come back 28 years later, you are here currently and you are just over there 28 years later, I don't want to see that. I hope not. But if you're over here now, and if you're still in 28 years later, I want to see you, oh my goodness, oh, this is what you're doing. Oh, I heard you speak to an audience of 10,000 people yesterday and you got paid, what, $100,000? Of course, and speakers do, by the way. This is not a lie. I'm in the industry, I know, okay? So, or of course, there's people who speak only in their organizations, in the boardroom with the teams, and they become powerful speakers and they sway and influence. Remember? Influence as the leader. What do? We influence and inspire our co-workers, our team members, people who report to us. Maybe you are the next CEO of the big organization. Maybe you're the senior vice president. I don't know. It all comes with critical thinking in your communication. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the key. That's it. This is the key. So I don't want to see any of you who are in leadership speak 5 years down the road, still struggling with a speech. Because I do see when I visit all these Toastmasters clubs, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they're still getting this evaluation. Of, you could have started this with an audience grabbing attention, grabbing start. You didn't use your eye contact properly. You should have, this is like 10 years into their speaking. I don't understand that sometimes. Of course, there's always something that the speaker could improve on. That's what our premise is, but not the same basic things, right? Not the same basic things. So you have to downpeg the foundational skills. The foundational skills that help you as well in presenting is what? Vocal variety, eye contact, gestures, right? Body movement, moving around and being comfortable and confident. Those are the basic foundational skills, which I'm not going to talk about today anyways, right? But I just thought I'd mention those as we go along. You can see speaker and evaluator. So two sides of the coin, your opening. Create a strong opening. We all know that. How do you create a strong opening anyway? Draw the audience's attention in, grab their attention, ask a provocative question. Now, this is it. You could ask a provocative question to draw the audience in. You could begin with a bold statement. You could use a surprising statistic or a fact. Today, I began with thanking one person, Ralph Smedley. Right? I don't know if I caught your attention or not, but I hope I did. I will be asking a few people later on in the afterwards after the meeting as to what they thought of my presentation. I always do. Yes, I do. I always ask a number of people what they thought of my presentation. I do. Even when I'm making a by the way, even when I'm making a presentation in clubs all over the world, you know, usually there's somebody from my club. Most of the time it's Hannah. She'll wake up at 12:30 at night, 1:30 at night, wake up, because it's only 6:30, 7:30 here where I am. And when I go to speak, she wakes up, looks at my presentation, makes notes, and then gives me feedback. Dedication. Thank you, Hannah. I always use her evaluation and her critical thing and her, you know, how she saw the speech. Thank you, Anna. I really am grateful. What did you do to your finger, by the way? Thank you, Zoom Master. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just some of the things that you could use in the opening. There's like so many different things. use artificial intelligence and ask ChatGPT how many types of openings there are that will grab an audience's attention. Do that. Use artificial intelligence to help you along. Do not copy do not tell the artificial intelligence to write a speech for you. Tell them, ask it about ideas, of course, but do not tell it to write the speech for you. You will fail because the wording that the artificial intelligence uses, it's not your authentic voice. And you need an authentic voice to speak, by the way. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is again a recap. We've seen all this stuff, right? And so the body of the speech has all this stuff happening there. There you go, right? So you can take a picture of this or picture of all the slides anyways as I've been going along. You can watch this presentation. It's being live streamed and recorded. Please watch it again. 100 years of critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen, 100 years of critical thinking. These are the foundational concepts behind critical thinking. This is what will help you think critically as you go along. All because of one man, Dr. Ralph Smedley. Question for you. How long will it take you to hone in this key skill in critical thinking? How much time beforehand are you going to spend creating your presentation? How long? Will it be the day before? Will it be on the day? Will it be a week before? Will it be 2 weeks before? Will you be talking to your evaluator? Which brings us another thing, right? Is that this is the coin. And this is just a note for the evaluators themselves here, right? Is that here's a speaker and that's the evaluator. This is a partnership, right? It's a partnership. So evaluators, if the speaker didn't connect with you, make sure you connect with the speaker, chase them. And speaker, if the evaluator didn't connect with you, you chase them. It's a partnership. Two sides of a coin, that's what it is. Now, you probably never heard of this, right? Nobody ever told you in Toastmasters it is really a partnership. But then we are Leadership Speak. And it's a partnership. We are not a community club. And so you have to use the resources we have, and we have amazing resources here. You already seen, we have past district directors, Smedley's distinguished. We've got so much skill here to tap into. I tap into poor Hannah's skill. She comes at midnight, 2 o'clock at night, to look at my presentations and give me a feedback. And so there's no dividing line. Actually, it is one and the same. A speaker is learning to be a better evaluator, and an evaluator is learning to be a better speaker. It's an inseparable partnership. And the key word is partnership. Did you get that? Do you get that, right, ladies and gentlemen, that it has to be, and without that, you cannot succeed without that feedback. And that 3-minute evaluation is not enough. It is not enough. When you come on Tuesdays and do a presentation, you'll get a round robin evaluation, and then it comes to my turn. And I do an evaluation for 6-7 minutes for a 6 or 7 minute speech. I break it down into minute details. And those who come on a regular basis have become very good speakers. So, ladies and gentlemen, evaluations. Make sure that as an evaluator, you know your duties to how to evaluate a person. As an evaluator or as a speaker, you're going to seek out and appreciate the brutal truth about yourself. You have to. So you have to push your evaluator to really give you a bit more so they're not holding back. If you're into validation, then it won't work. Of course, you're afraid to ask, you want to have that tap on your shoulder that, oh, you're doing well, you're fine. You don't really want that in an advanced club, which is Leadership Speak. You really want to improve very quickly. And so when it says brutal truth, it doesn't mean it's really brutal. There's empathy always involved, but brutal means the direction that you want to go in, that is the direction you will get. Not just, oh, okay, it's fine, and here's 1 or 2 points. 15 years later, you will have moved 1 iota. Thank you, Sheryl Sandberg, for this. So here's the thing. When we provide feedback, here's a blank. What happens? We are serving and inspiring each other to the next level. Evaluators, this is what you're doing. And it's a transformative process. You're transforming the speaker to the next level that impacts everyone and leaves a lasting impact. So as an evaluator, you are doing a great service to the speaker. There is something incredible about an evaluator. To leave somebody inspired, motivated, and to get to the next level, that's an evaluation that is very rare in the real world. And here we are learning that in Toastmasters, and 10 years later, if you've been a member here in Leadership Speak, you don't want to have moved an iota. You have to move, hopefully, mountains. Evaluations are key to understanding our strengths. Evaluations are essential for recognizing our areas of growth, and evaluations are the pathway to continuous improvement and excellence. Continuous improvement and excellence, which means a learning mindset, a growth mindset, right? Which means moving away from validation and being afraid of rejection into, what am I learning here? Can you tell me more, please? You know, where can I improve? And what's the next thing? Can I come and practice on Tuesday? I've prepared this speech 3 weeks in advance, and I really want to make this a great presentation. Help me. That's the Leadership Speak member, right? Yeah, ought to be like that. So evaluations are not just about measuring success, it's about understanding of failures. I don't like to call it failures, ladies and gentlemen. What do I call these? Learning opportunities, okay? That's what they are, learning opportunities. Sorry, I put this slide on again. So there's no failure, only learning opportunities. If you think of it as a failure, I made a mistake, and you're afraid of making mistakes because when you were young, you were told, hey, you made a mistake. Why did you? And you were hit. Or, of course, in those days, you got hit. And nowadays, it's like, go to your room, you know, and so on. And so now you're always afraid of learning opportunities. And you have to get out of that mode. Evaluations are not just about celebrating achievements, but about learning from setbacks. This is what evaluations are all about. And so you have to be a champion in feedback. Feedback, you get that, right? Feedback for champions, breakfast for champions. That's what I'm getting at. So, ladies and gentlemen, as an evaluator, make sure you're observing and taking into account what's in it for the audience, how was the title, the opening, what was the structure of the speech, and how did it unfold. And you put your disposition aside and just be present. So, you know, you don't want to you want to be more logical rather than emotional, get caught up in the emotion of the speech and say, oh, I didn't like that speech, you know, and how am I going to give this evaluation? I've had that happen to me lots of times along my way, right? People say, oh, the evaluator stands up and said, I didn't take some notes, or I'm not sure about this. I'll give you an evaluation later. Has happened to me. I know, because they were not able to put aside their disposition. They were caught up in the emotion and they didn't like what I said. For the evaluator, of course, it doesn't mean that the speech was bad. It's just that the evaluator didn't agree with my point of view, like climate change. I talk about climate change. The evaluator says there's no climate change. So when they get up to speak and do an evaluation, guess what? They ain't going to be able to do that if they get caught up in the emotion of it. If they put their disposition aside and begin to observe and listen actively, begin to understand my perspective and give me an evaluation, they'll take me to the next level. That is an evaluator par excellence. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, the feedback loop that we need as an evaluator. How was presentation structured? Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, 100 years of critical thinking. When you are constructing a presentation, you are learning to be an effective evaluator. And when you are evaluating, you are learning to be an effective speaker. two sides of a coin. It's a partnership. You cannot get away from it. In an advanced club, you should consider it a partnership. Two sides of a coin. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are your key skills? It is to be an effective communicator. You have to ignite that partnership. You've got to break the glass ceiling by preparing well in advance and incorporating the feedback you've received into your current presentation, in your planning, in your strategy, and practicing, and then with your evaluator. And then after the presentation, after the 3-minute evaluation, more evaluation from your mentor group. You are in the mentor group, except for the new members. For the past couple of months, we have not done that because the mentor groups are not active currently. We hope somebody will ignite it. I'm still hoping. I always have hope. Ladies and gentlemen, so with that, I will conclude how the presentation is structured. The conclusion, call to action, right, which is the title in the opening, and the construct, the conclusion. That will tell us what the audience's takeaway is, and did the presentation inform, inspire, motivate, persuade, or entertain? Let's see what our speakers are going to do today, and let's see if our evaluators are listening carefully and if they will incorporate these today. I don't expect too much because this presentation is just being made. I mean, we did one similar one on July the 27th. This is the second part of that presentation. And this recording from July the 27th is available. The recording from today will be available, and hopefully this will form the basis of future training for our speakers and evaluators to watch and get better. And we'll do more trainings, of course, along the way. I promise that, if that's what the club needs. And I'm sure that you all need more training, as well as I need that too. So, ladies and gentlemen, critical thinking, this is what it is all about. I want to thank Ralph Smedley for creating this platform, for allowing us to be here, to become great communicators. The possibility of becoming legendary leaders exists right here, right now on this platform, and every one of you can be an incredible critical thinker, which means a legendary leader, be paid handsomely and very well too. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Brahm. Brahm, as you were speaking, I jotted down a few notes, just a few words, just the way I do it. And you reinforced a lot of my thinking. But there was one thing that you did change in my mind, and I'll explain that just in a few seconds. Some of the words that I wrote down that were reinforcement was critical thinking, of course, behaviors, purpose, real world, persuasive, influence, engage with the audience, stories, preparation and progress. And each one of us here, we all have our feelings about those things and more, because I'm sure other people have thought of other things as well. But the one thing that you made me kind of change my mind on something, or the way I think about it, is very important. It was near the end when you talked about failures. And I've always agreed with that concept that you espoused, how to treat the word failures. When I was doing my law studies, for example, I failed 10 exams. But if I had reacted negatively, I would have quit the program after the first or second. But obviously I didn't, because obviously I saw something like you did, and like I think all of us do. But the way I used to look at it, now, thanks to this, I've changed it, I think, significantly. The way I used to look at failures was lessons learned. And that's pretty safe. Okay, I did something wrong here. I'll do better next time. But now you said something that was critical, as in critical thinking. You said treat failures as learning opportunities. You know, not only does it sound more positive, but it's more appropriate. So this is my take. This is my takeaway, the big takeaway from this. And I trust that my fellow members who've listened to your marvelous presentation also have their takeaways. So Brahm, thank you for this.
Thank you.
We will now proceed to the another critical thinking part of our agenda. Going forward, we're going to have 2 speakers, and each speaker will have 5 evaluators. I will introduce each speaker when it's time, and I will provide the speaker's intro and their project description, and I will announce their name, the title, and their name. And after the first speaker, I will introduce the general evaluator, who will introduce his team, and they will do their evaluations. The second speaker then will speak after the first round, and I'll repeat that part of introducing the speaker and the project objectives and the title. And then the general evaluator will take over again with the next round. So now we will proceed to the first speaker. The first speaker is Nzinga Jasse, and she's been an enthusiastic Toastmaster since 2016. And I should really say enthusiastic Toastmaster since 2016. And she is dialing in from Angola. Nzinga is committed to building effective communications and leadership skills. That comes right in the mission statement. Yes. And she's committed to doing it within Toastmasters and her professional and personal life, like Brahm said, the real world. Her project is the Dynamic Leadership Pathway 1, Project 3, Evaluation and Feedback. The objectives are to present either a new speech or the same speech that incorporates some or all of the feedback received from the presentation the first time around. So this is the second time around. So fellow Toastmasters, Nzinga Jasse. Look forward, Nzinga Jasse.
It was a cold November day. I was shivering. It was raining. I looked ahead, and there was the university building. Back, the bus that could take me home, my warm home. I was second-guessing my choice to move from Angola to Portugal to get a law degree from a renowned university. So I looked again, considered taking the bus back. I was second-guessing myself. Have you ever second-guessed your own choices, fellow Toastmasters and guests? Back to that rainy day, I had to look into myself and then look into my colorful jacket and think, well, maybe that was not a good choice. But your goal was to come here and get your law degree. So get yourself together. The rain is just rain. I used to love the rain in Angola, the tropical rain. It's a different rain now, but it's just rain. I decided to change my own perspective. With a goal at mind, I decided I would continue to love the rain, either warm or cold. That was just one of the things I had to reconsider how I thought, because I was in a new country, facing a new reality. I succeeded. I achieved my goal. I got my law degree. Immediately, the goal changed. I decided to stay longer and became a certified lawyer in Portugal. The 5 years journey became 10 years in Portugal, where I enjoyed and I succeeded professionally. Thanks to changing the way of seeing things, I continue to look forward, thinking ahead of what I wanted to achieve. I relived a similar experience when I joined Toastmasters in 2016. The goal then was to improve my communication skills in English. Seems easy, no? But if you join Toastmasters like I had without not knowing much how practical things were done, the first meetings were overwhelming. The structure, the feedback piece, receiving the out loud evaluations about how you deliver a speech, how you performed an evaluation. You know lawyers, right? We are considered as arrogant, rude, and I realized that I was using the same professional communication style in an environment that didn't need that. That wasn't useful. That's why I stayed in Toastmasters since 2016. I needed to change. I needed to communicate effectively, understand my audience, connect with my audience, not just impose my thoughts or my ideas. As time went by, others joining Toastmasters looked up at me, asking me to guide them. And I thought, well, I need to step up my game. Looking forward to what I could do to help others, I joined Leadership Speak, an advanced club. My goal now is to become even better. Yes, I still need to work on my communication skills, effectively connect with the audience, while keeping true to myself. Be strong but not rude. Be confident but not arrogant. I look forward to lead others. Tell them what they can achieve in Toastmasters using our amazing platform and learning tools. Do you know what you are looking forward to? Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nzinga. I had the pleasure of evaluating your presentation last week. So now we're going to have a group of people who will have the pleasure of evaluating your repeat presentation. And I tell you, Nzinga, yet last week's and this week's, both are great. So this is awesome. I will introduce now the general evaluator who will lead the critical thinking part of this agenda. Vinod Panicker joined Toastmasters a while ago. He's a past division director, part of the program quality director team, and the Toastmaster Leadership Institute chair. Professionally, Vinod is the head of sales for a packaging company in Dubai. Vinod, the critical thinking part of this agenda is now in your hands.
Thank you very much, Tony. You are one of the most handsome and inspiring person in this world for me. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, as your general evaluator, as serving as your general evaluator, I will be applying my critical thinking skills, what I have just learned. And what I will be doing is I will observe and analyze what our evaluators are going to observe and analyze in the speech of the speaker. They say the best room in the world is the room for improvement. And I am going to open the door right now by calling the first evaluator, Toastmaster Nikhita Winkler, to do the evaluation. Toastmaster Nikhita, may I please have you on a screen? Yes, I can see her. The screen is all yours, Nikhita.
Thank you so much. Today I need to look forward because I too am looking back too often. And right now I'm actually very ill. So I don't have a lot of energy to look forward, but I had energy to look at Nzinga's presentation, my fellow Southern African who has been on the same journey as I've been, leaving to Europe, looking back, looking forward. I spoke to her before her speech, and she told me that she was working on feeling more comfortable in front of a big online audience. Nzinga, you were natural. At first, just doing this with your body, I wanted to judge, not critically think, but judge. And then I stopped and I listened and I continued to stay present with you. And at the end of your speech, I felt that nothing really was forced. I felt you were natural, you were fluid in your movements. And let me tell you one thing, starting a speech within your body is a really good decision to make, according to my experience, because it helps you to ground in your body. I feel that perhaps this was a great choice that you made, to just give yourself that warmth as well. So well done on those choices. You came across a natural. You had eye contact. She also said that she wanted to work with vocal variety. I saw the vocal variety in the changes that her body language was going through. So every time and it was very coherent with your story. So as your story transformed, your body language transformed, the smile came, and even though the vocal variety, again, wasn't forced, it wasn't too high, too low, I felt it was all very cohesive, very natural, and that you were not second-guessing yourself in this speech. Another thing that Nzinga wanted to work on was a clear conclusion. Very clear. Clear from the start. Clear from the fact that your title is Look Forward. We already knew this has to be inspiring. And it was. It was, because at some point in all our lives, we all go through the crossroad. So thank you for the inspiration. What can you challenge yourself with? Right now, I don't feel like I can be very critical, given how I feel. Continue repeating speeches. As Brahm said, it's in being consistent, but also not necessarily creating new speeches. Revisiting the speeches that have already a voice, a body. So continue reworking your speeches. And I am not privileged enough. I did not see the first speech, and that also makes it a bit more difficult for me as an evaluator to evaluate the changes you have gone through. But well done, and thank you for the privilege to evaluate you. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster
General
Nikhita.
evaluator, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what I will be doing is after every evaluator evaluates, I will give my 2 cents, what I felt, and I will be purely focusing on did the evaluator reinforce that was effective, and did they give any point of development for future development? So Nikita, there I'm definitely with you when you say that you are not feeling well, because I could feel that. Please take care. And you repeated the good thing, positive reinforcement that you made was her body language. That is really something which we would like her, like the speaker, to continue with. And the vocal variety was good with the gesture, but I would like the evaluators to be more specific in which part, when they said, you can actually act and show that, rather than just specifically mention that. And you mentioned the speech was inspiring. How, what inspiration did you get? Was it from the goal that she was setting? Was it from the perception that she changed? I would have loved to hear more about that particular thing. And you gave something to challenge, to repeat and redo the speeches again and again to be a better speaker. Thank you very much for that, Nikita. So our second evaluator, the same door which is closed now, I am opening again, is Toastmaster John Ojeifo. Toastmaster John, can I please have you on the screen? The screen is all yours, John.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Nzinga. Thank you for that inspiring speech on look forward. I like several things about this speech. I like the content, the way in which you structured it, particularly how you started the story in asking us to look forward. And I also like your link to the conclusion, to the final point in your summary and your conclusion by asking a rhetorical question, which I love very much, which you use to connect with the audience. I also like your choice of words. And what particularly inspired me is the way in which you showed how looking forward helps you to succeed, and as well as making sure that whatever we look forward to and what we are looking forward to will help move us forward to lead others. Now, when I spoke with you yesterday, my understanding was that you were working on your vocal variety. And my understanding of vocal variety relates to the pitch, the voice, the pause, as well as the power. Now, while you have succeeded in many areas, I will ask you to please consider the following areas. The very first thing is the very first time your opening. When you opened up, you came out with body gestures, but you were whistling, and you said you were cold. Again, I was looking for inflection in that point, that is looking for how your language and that term cold work together. I felt that you needed more something like tone to be able to highlight that inflection, the emotion of coldness. From what I read in your face, you are not feeling cold, even though you are showing, but I would have loved to see it in your tonality of that shivering that was occurring. Secondly, is the fact that your pitch, I was a little bit not too sure about the modulation in that your modulation, that is your voice, how it was changing with time. And so there are so many things that I like very much. I like your tone, I like the content, I like the delivery, I like also your Zoom presence because you were there, but also your conclusion. All in all, I hope you will be able to consider adding more to your vocal variety. Thank you, and I look forward to your next speeches. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, John. So what I could observe and analyze from your evaluation is you gave a lot of generic thing that you like the content, you like the structure, you like the story, but you missed the specifics. If you are saying that you like the content, what about the content? Was it the story that she went and studied and passed the law and all these things? Or was it the Toastmaster experience? I wanted to hear more when you were saying that. And there were, again, a lot of things. Even you mentioned Zoom presence, like what you say, and it was, yeah, Zoom presence was good. But what was good about it? Was it the positioning? Was it the angle? What was it? The lighting? So when when we are giving an evaluation, be specific. No need to mention 10 different things, but when we are mentioning one thing, make sure you are going deep inside. And one thing I absolutely liked about your observation was when you mentioned that there was a need for inflection or tonality change when it's feeling cold, or even when she had mentioned I succeeded. So that I succeeded should be I succeeded. It came like I succeeded. So that was very well picked because that was throughout her speech. Thank you very much for that, John. And I would like the evaluators to summarize their speech also. Thank you very much for that amazing thing. Next evaluation would be done by Toastmaster Guerday Felix. May I please welcome Toastmaster Guerday on the screen. The screen is all yours.
Do you know what you are looking forward to? What a beautiful question, tying your beginning or title with the end. Your title being look forward, and your ending, do you know what you are looking forward to? Powerful. I love that when you started with movement, indicating that you were cold. Because I could see that the audience was there with you. You grabbed our attention. That was one of the highlights of your speech. I also like the parallel that you made between your making that decision to move to Portugal versus your decision you made in joining Toastmasters. I also believed that was another way to grab your audience. Now I will talk about movement. Your movement at the beginning, I felt was sharp, was good. But then at certain times, there were as such. As you were speaking, you were poised, but I saw a lot of women that went like this and like this, and again like this and like this. I would have liked to see more movement being bigger, especially when you were making your parallel as you moved to Portugal, as you joined Toastmasters. Perhaps you could have stand one place when you're talking about Portugal or you becoming a lawyer, and then move to another place when you're talking about Toastmasters, so that we know, the audience, which you are going to address. I also liked that you told us what you have learned, how you become better, and you said that you stayed. Most of all, I love that the way you finished your speech. What to work on? Definitely movement, and also voice intonation, and what to keep for me was the highlight, is the way you started and the way you finished with a question. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Guerday. That was very specific. I really love when evaluators don't say good evening, good morning, thank you, and all these things, and cut to the point. And you did that. You mentioned the positive reinforcement that was done was about the circular construction, the title, and the ending that perfectly matched, and the movement that you mentioned, and the suggestions that you gave were really valid. The speaker was clasping her hand almost for a minute, whereas the speech had the opportunity of going to Portugal, taking Toastmasters and making all kind of larger gestures. So thank you for showing the two things. One was movement on the stage, and second was staging, how to make yourself like the Toastmasters and Portugal. So thank you for it was very, very useful, I believe. The next speaker would be, the evaluator would be Toastmaster Jyothi. Toastmaster Jyothi Thomas. Yes, and it's sunlight. Over to you.
So was that just a whistle to say how well you started it off? You very clearly wanted to have vocal variety. Nzinga, that you brought in. That way you connected with the audience. Now, when I looked at your speech, I was looking at very clear, vivid descriptions. The way you spoke about law, self-doubt, where are you going to be? What is the new place going to bring? All that connected to say all of us will have that situation where we know we have to do something and there's self-doubt. So which is the path you're going to take? That was a good start. And you sort of started off by giving a focus and a clear goal to say how the vulnerability of going from Angola to Portugal, the rain, and you connected your personal story with the rain, which was slightly moving away from the transition. Have you ever had a second guess? That was a very good point you brought in. And I think it's so important. Goals you set, and you also had something to say. The perspective of how do you go about life? The challenges when you did the law degree, how long it took, you thought only so much. So those were the points which I really liked because you kept telling everybody challenges will come. Your title and the path, dynamic leadership, also talks about resilience, standing up, being right there. And I think at leadership, we always talk about connecting it to the pathway itself. So that is something which I really liked. What would be a few things I would request you to look at? The transition, the smooth transition between, I was wondering, you started off about your life in the story, and it sort of jumped over to Toastmasters, where I was thinking maybe you could have just had a clear closure to the first part of your speech where the challenges were there and how you brought yourself into Toastmasters. Though it was there a little bit more, would have given a better connect to the whole thing. Overall, connecting the title and your speech. It was there almost, but can be improved a little bit more if you had said towards the end, I was looking forward to this, and this is precisely where I went. I know how do you had this last bit where you said, so what are you thinking? You did wake us up. You motivated us to say, difficulties come, but remember to look forward. What would I like to have more will be watch out for the presence on the screen, the Zoom presence, because when you kept moving away your jacket, it felt you were also ghosting a wee bit. So overall, in summary, I like to try to bring in very good vocal variety. You also had a good personal story, and that motivated all of us to see the different ways we have a self-doubt. In conclusion, if I'm going to say, please make sure you're able to bring in smooth transitions and give a clear point to say, I did this, and why don't you go ahead and do the same? Thank you, and over to the General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Jyothi. My mentor always said the purpose of evaluation is to take them high and make them fly. And I believe all our evaluators are doing that today. Toastmaster Jyothi, I will focus on the point of development that you have mentioned. One was the transition, that if you open an idea, close it. close the loop and then go to the second idea. Don't keep the audience guessing what is going to happen. And the Zoom presence also was very valid, because when she was going back, it was a little bit like what you say, not connecting. It felt she was going away from the audience. So both were very nicely done. One thing I would like to highlight quickly, the dress that you are wearing, Jyothi, was amazing. Why I am saying that is because I was wearing a blue shirt, and when I saw it was not matching with the background, I had to go and change. So Rozy, amazing dress. Jyothi, amazing dress. And all the people who are making sure that it doesn't, your costume does not merge with the background, are doing amazing job. So I just wanted to highlight that. So next time when we are on screen, we focus on that also. So our last evaluator for this particular speech is Toastmaster Deborah. Toastmaster Deborah, the screen is all yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. Nzinga, while the depth of the stage needs to be a little bit more purposeful, I love that you use the depth of the stage. Most speakers forget about the depth of the virtual stage. They'll use the width, but not the depth. Well done on using the depth. Needs to be a bit more purposeful, but you did it. You had very good eye contact with the audience, and you were very well spoken. I never would have guessed that English was not your first language had you not said so. You came across very clear. I understood everything that you were saying. I also like the opening body language. I've never seen anyone open, they're freezing cold. And I understood it, and I liked it. It came across very well on the camera. Well done on those points. A few things that you could use a little bit tweaking, and then I'm going to go deeper with you, is at one point you asked the audience, have you ever second guessed yourself? When you ask the audience a question like that, you can adjust it slightly. It's called a slight edge principle. When you say, have you ever, you're talking to a group. But as a speaker, you really actually want to speak as though you're speaking just to one person. So for example, you could easily adjust that phrase, changing it from have you ever to when was the last time you second guessed yourself? So whenever you ask a question of the audience in your speech, phrase the question as though you're speaking just to the one person, not the group. Everyone will hear you, but the audience members will feel that you're speaking directly to them. As was already mentioned, the hand gestures, they were repetitive. I won't mention anything more about that. Then let's go deeper. And in your particular speech and in your story, it came across to me as though it was fully narrated from beginning to end. I did not hear any real changes at all in voice. And one of the ways to do that is to incorporate another character into your story and change your voice for them. But with your speech in particular, I think that the use of internal dialogue would have been very effective. How did you feel as you were moving throughout the different phases of your story? And then incorporate internal dialogue as part of that. If you were excited about something, let it show on your face and let it be reflected in your voice. That will help add in some vocal variety, which will break up the narration. And I think for your project here, internal dialogue would be very appropriate. Then leading into the conclusion, I didn't feel that there was a clear takeaway or an action. You as the speaker, why did you feel that your message was important? What was it that you wanted us to think, feel, or do differently? Hone in on that and make sure that you end your speech with a bang, with a clear takeaway. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Deborah. So I will be looking at what Toastmaster Deborah mentioned, very nicely in-depth evaluation, where she mentioned about the slight edge principle. One thing I would like to add on that is after you asked the question, you could have paused. Because pause is a technique. The message is always in the silence. So the second was the hand gesture. That is fine. But the most important I felt was that feeling, that dialogues, the characters were missing. Where was the character conflict resolution? There was no bigger conflict. We could not see that. There was no takeaway. Observe, analyze, application. That is what Tony said for critical thinking. The application part was missing. That is what Toastmaster Deborah mentioned over here. So overall, I believe I will wrap this session, first session of the evaluation over here. What I felt personally is, Nzinga, you are a very clear speaker when it comes to clarity of words. You can really impact people. You have a conversational style. It feels like we are talking across a coffee table, and you are generally just talking to us. I felt like you are only talking to me. But all the evaluation that has been given to you, the point of development, take that, start working on one by one. Come on Tuesdays, Brahm and everybody else will definitely work on that. I will also join, and I am looking forward for your next speech. Thank you, and back to our handsome Toastmaster of the day.
You're forgetting the trainer, my dear friend.
Oh yeah, the TMOD will introduce.
No. You got to introduce me. I look at the agenda.
Okay, so what I will do is, the agenda says, that is one thing which I usually don't do that. So what happens is, in the agenda, after the evaluation, there would be an expert voice from our trainer, Toastmaster Brahm. So I would give the screen for our expert tips from our dear DTM Brahm. Over to you, Brahm.
No, actually, I want to have a discussion with you, Mr. GE. So if you can spotlight him as well, spotlight the GE here. Hey, Vinod, how are you doing?
All well. Great.
So now, here's my presentation that I did. Of course, it is way advanced. And here's our speaker. So it's a journey from where the speakers are to where we want to take them. So of course, we didn't expect the speakers to speak to my presentation, but this is the direction they need to go in. That's what the intention is, of course. But now let's have a discussion about what the journey entails, and actually Deborah did say what's the audience's takeaway. She actually did. The rest of the evaluators, I think, did miss it out. But we didn't expect that today, right? So now the audience's takeaway, Vinod, what do you think? Is that important? How important is this, and how can speakers work that into their presentation?
For being an advanced speaker, or if you want to get paid for speaking or being effective, there should be a clear takeaway. I believe there was multiple premises in this speech, and each premise was competing which is important, either the goal or the perspective. So there were competing premises, I believe. So it should have been only one premise.
Correct, absolutely. And also, one of the things that was mentioned by some of the evaluators, and I think it was Deborah, really, she said internalize, and so the feeling should be internalized. So the audience should see what you saw in terms of your words. The languaging is very important. The audience should hear what you heard. So the words at that time, so when you were feeling cold, what was going on around you, what you saw, what you heard, how you felt, that has to be internalized and brought forward and alive, so that the audience really gets it at the deeper level, as Deborah said, at a deeper level. What do you think, Vinod?
Yeah, the internalized part, I would give an example. I was watching an acting workshop where an actor said that a good actor becomes an actor when they don't hear their own voice. And I believe it is true for speakers also. A speaker becomes a good speaker when they don't hear their own voice, because they have completely internalized the message, and whatever they are speaking, it comes from their heart. And it comes in the body movement and all this thing. We saw that in the beginning, but then it becomes more of mechanics, that we have to do this, we have to do that. That was my observation.
And so, Vinod, we've interviewed a lot of past world champions of public speaking in my podcast, and they all said the same thing, is be authentic. So if you want to internalize that, if it is not authentic, it's not your message, you will fail anyways, even if you try to internalize it, because this is your story or your perspective, your experience, and it has to be from you. So do a speech that is authentic to you and that you can internalize and then re-express it. What do you think, Vinod?
Yes, absolutely. But I saw our speaker, Nzinga, in her previous speech also, she has improved a lot.
Yes.
So whatever we are doing is good, actually, basically. So Tony, amazing evaluation last time.
So this is really, this is where the speaker is. What we are trying to say is this is where, the progression is, and so of course we don't expect the speaker to be in the next speech to be totally internalized, authentic and all that. It's this journey. A world champion of public speaking becomes a world champion of public speaking because they practice one speech hundreds of times. And Deborah here knows that she's a coach, so and she's worked with some of the world champions of public speaking in their coaching programs. And so have you, Vinod. You're pretty good at that. So the other thing is, languaging is very, very important for evaluators and how they evaluate. And this is my suggestion. This is my point of view is instead of saying I loved this or I love that, I prefer, and it's just my point of view. You have your point of view. Is say I would rather say how effective was the speaker at this thing or that thing, and this is where they could really excel at. Yeah, sure. It is still my opinion, right? So, but it doesn't. When you change the languaging, it means you are now you're putting yourself as an evaluator into being much more of an expert rather than it's just my opinion. And then it also propels the speaker forward. As always, again, even though this is a partnership between a speaker and evaluator, in the end, the speaker should know the direction that they are going in. If they've shared the direction with the evaluator and said, in the real world, outside in the real world, this is what I am intending to do. That's why, hence my speech, and this is what I'm looking for in Toastmasters to improve so that I can do that in the real world. It is not always about being a professional speaker. You could be speaking to one person, to your family, to your church, to your community, or to your organization, to your teammates, or to your CEO, or to the board, whatever it is. Critical thinking is necessary if you want to make an impact and improve. That's why we are in Toastmasters, hopefully in the advanced club. Vinod, your final comments, then we move on.
Yes, means almost everybody has said. For me, what I would like to see leadership speakers at a level where they are taking us on a journey with their message and ensure that we are landing in the proper way. So in the purpose of any story is to elicit emotions. Michael Haig always says that. So was there an emotion? Like what you say, I could not see the emotions up and down over here, the vocal variety, but all these things. But the most important thing was the speaker authentic? And I could see authenticity in some part. And forget about, because I have seen speakers who may not be the best presenters in the world, but they were very authentic and they touched heart. And that's something which I would like to be developed in our club more. And it is there already. So I think
it's a journey, yeah. This club is only 2.5 years old, and we've got a lot of new members that have joined, and continuously we are asking them to practice their craft and so on. And we are here to help them. So for Nzinga, whatever we've said for the past half an hour here, it is we are over here, and we are talking about here, and there's a journey, there's steps, and we are here to help you on Tuesdays. And you're always there, so she knows absolutely well. She is always there. She is really hungry for learning. So thank you so much, Nzinga, for your participation. Over to you, G.
Thank you very much. So I believe it was DTM Paramjit Singh, who had once mentioned proper prior planning prevents poor performance, the 5 Ps that we all need to remember.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day, for the second session.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll proceed to the second speaker. Terrence Ware is a professional business intelligence consultant and a Toastmaster by passion. He joined his community club, Early Birds Toastmasters in Kenya in 2020, and has grown as a leader in the club, the area, the division, and the district, having served as Sergeant at Arms, President, Public Relations Manager for the district, and now the Vice President of Education and Public Relations Manager for his division. Terrence's project is Dynamic Leadership Level 1, Project 2, Writing a Speech with Purpose and to deliver an effective, well-defined speech on a narrow enough topic. Terrence Ware, Conquer. Terrence Ware.
Toastmaster of the day, I don't see him in this. Okay, he's there now, bound quite down there. Yeah.
Can you reintroduce me, please?
Terrence where? Conquer. Terrence where?
Toastmasters, 100 years. Can you imagine what would happen if you woke up this morning and found yourself 100 years in the past? My thinking is I would be woken up by screams of witch or wizard, wizard, simply because of the gadget I would be having in my pocket. I would probably be having my phone. And back in the day, such technology would be considered as witchcraft. Toastmasters. Have you ever encountered a situation where someone made a comment that got you thinking? Recently, when attending the Toastmasters East Africa conference in 2023, a question was posed to the panelists. Do you think technology, do you think AI is going to replace human beings? That question got me thinking. Have we done this before? Have we been in this place before? Maybe we were here 100 years ago. Today, I want to discuss three things or three approaches that you can take to conquer any question posed at you that requires a bit of critical thinking. The first one, break the limiting beliefs. Toastmasters, none of us was born as we are today. When you watch a baby trying to crawl or a baby trying to speak, they don't worry about what you think about them. All they want to do is achieve their goal. What if you had such a mentality? Any project, anything you approached with the mindset of a baby, what do you think would happen? Toastmasters, get rid of your limiting beliefs. Have an open mind whenever you approach a problem. The second thing that I believe is important for us to conquer is overcoming the obstacles. In our lives, we've come through a lot, or we've gone through a lot. For instance, when some people in this meeting give us their stories, we'll hear of how they came from rags to riches. Some will even tell us of how they started from the bottom of their pyramid and where they are right now. I'll make it simple for you. You've gotten here through overcoming several obstacles. Was it maybe you overcame your fear of public speaking? That's why you're here. Maybe you overcame your fear of electricity. There are some people who are afraid of lights, afraid of so many things. And that's why you've challenged yourself, and that's why you're here. The obstacles we've overcome this far by far outweigh or surpass what we're likely to face. I believe most of us in this meeting are above the age of 20. 20 years of experience compared to the few years we're looking forward to is nothing in comparison. The third and the final thing, taking bold steps. You can only conquer by taking action. I remember I attended a conference a few years back where the speaker mentioned that he dropped his books, Leaders Take Action. He was dropping his books, Leaders Take Action. And before I knew it, this young lady seated at the front row leapt and picked all the 5 books that had been dropped by this speaker. This was a very important lesson in taking action for all of us. And I encourage you as leaders to think along the same lines. Many are the times when we request or we look forward to good things, but we don't prepare for them. People will attend a conference saying they want to be healed. but they still attend it with their limiting beliefs. They attend it without their preparation, and they go there with an ambulance as if they are supposed to live the same in an ambulance. Reminds me of another story of that child in a prayer meeting for rain. While all the other people who attended the prayer meeting came as they were, the little boy came with an umbrella because they were praying for rain. Toastmasters, it takes action in as much as we have the experience, we have the exposure, and we have the tools. It takes action. Anything we do, any step or any conquest we approach, we must involve our actions. And it is with that in mind that I encourage all of us to go out and conquer our fears. It might be the fear of standing before a crowd of 10,000. Think about it in those terms. First, work on your limiting beliefs. Are you looking at 10,000 or are you looking only at that person who is looking at you? Breaking down your problems into smaller bits, right? Then overcoming the obstacles. Looking at challenges in terms that you can relate with, in terms that you can overcome based on your past experiences. And third, and finally, taking the bold step. As a speaker, as a person in IT, I believe technology is here to stay. AI is here to help us in our different tasks. So anytime you're faced with AI and someone tells you that it's here to take over your job, look at them and say, I am a conqueror. So everybody unmute and say, I am a conqueror.
I am a conqueror.
I am a conqueror.
Toastmaster of the day.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we will proceed back to our general evaluator, Vinod, who's still going to remain very busy. We're not Vinod. Vinod will bring another group of excellent evaluators, and then Vinod, you again will call upon the trainer. Our timer then at that point will post the times in the chat box, and then Vinod, you will then present your overall evaluation of the entire meeting, then back to me, and we'll put a nice bow tie to this wonderful meeting. So Vinod, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Tony, for once again sharing the screen. Now it's time to serve. Serve what? Glenn Blanchard says, feedback is the breakfast for champions. And it's time for breakfast in Canada, I believe. It's time for dinner in Dubai. It may be time for something else, but let's start serving. The first Toastmaster, the first evaluator is Toastmaster Ejura. Toastmaster Ejura, the screen is all yours.
We know the Ejura is not here, and I think the Leya is also, or not this, Barbara is also not there. That's the first two.
So I will be calling the third evaluator. I think they went for having breakfast, but our third evaluator is over here. So I'll please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Hannah. Hannah, the screen is all yours.
I'm having my lunch or my afternoon coffee. Terrence, your speech has truly conquered my interest. In writing that speech with a purpose, you have inspired me how to conquer. You had the 3 points about breaking the limiting beliefs and overcoming the obstacle and taking bold steps, which all incorporated into your speech, and you ended with repeating those 3 points. Very well done. One thing I'd like to challenge you on is your Zoom presence, Terrence. Your screen was only about that much. One couldn't see all of your faces, especially your hand gestures. That was a bit missing. And your conclusion and your opening, they tied together, as I said that earlier on. Your message to me and the audience leaves me motivated to conquer my fear of overcoming obstacles, being bold, etc. Your eye, as I mentioned also, your eye contact. You didn't look at the camera. We couldn't see you were looking to your right. It looked as though you were reading. That I want to challenge you on also for your next speech, that you look at that. And the gray, want to end with it. We'll make it a short one. It is actually not the mountain that we conquer, but it is ourselves through overcoming the obstacles, through taking bold steps, and through actually achieve our goals. These are the main points that I want to evaluate you on. And look at the video, and then you'll see that I have what points I have mentioned for you to look at when you present a speech. Use the stage also. You only stay at one point and look to your right. Use the whole frame as we use it. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hannah. I missed the summary in your speech, but I liked your opening. My mentor had taught me this: always start with something from the speaker's speech as an opening. And you said you conquered my interest. So you used the title in the opening. That I felt is something which we should keep doing and keep practicing. The point of development that you have given are valid. The Zoom presence, I believe the speaker was not using a laptop. They were using either iPad or mobile. The second that you mentioned was the eye contact. That also was visible in some part where where the speaker was trying to learn something. And the use of stage that you mentioned, you could have demonstrated how to do that instead of just like generically saying that. The 3 points where the 3 point can be here and then in the center you can come. But in general, I like the way you opened, and the suggestions that you gave were relevant and can be used practically. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hannah. Now, let me welcome Toastmaster Nthati. I believe I am pronouncing her name correctly. Toastmaster Nthati. Yeah, your smile says it all that I am not doing it right. But thank you, and the screen is all yours.
100 years. Can you imagine waking up and finding yourself living in 100 years in the past? Thank you very much, Warren, Terrence Warren, Toastmasters, for your inspirational speech, which is well prepared, with your 3 points, which were quite interesting and grabbed my attention. And the last one, which was a call to action, that we should take bold steps. Your voice was quite audible and the message clear, because you were encouraging the audience to take and conquer their lives. I have noticed that much as you were very effective in your delivery of speech, the flow of your points in the body of your speech was very well stitched to the end. As you were narrating the stories, what I would propose that you should consider to improve in your presentation is the framing. You seemed to be positioned more to your left and to my right not in the center of your of the camera. And also you need to consider vocal variety to eliminate monotone. For instance, when you were saying leaders take action, there should have been some, I'm just giving an example because there's a lot in that showed monotone. There should have been some emphasis. And you need also to consider internalizing your speeches in future so that you can avoid referring to the script. In summary, a well-prepared speech and also with an authoritative voice. You need also to consider the suggestions of taking care of the framing, the positioning, vocal variety, as well as not referencing, internalizing your speech. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for that evaluation. I like the way you used the speech to open 100 years. That was actually very well done by the speaker, and you have mentioned it very aptly. That line stirred our imagination, like it really took us back, and you highlighted it in a very nice way. And the point of development that you have given is staging, framing for 3 points, and the vocal variety. You actually gave an proper example, like leaders take action. So, for example, you could have said, leaders take action. Like our voice coach always says that every word, when we emphasize it differently, it means different. So if you focus, leaders take action or leaders take action, all these three are three different statements in the mind of the audience. So very well highlighted over there, and nicely summary done. So the last evaluation we will be having from Toastmaster Leya. Toastmaster Leya, the screen is all yours.
Imagine waking up and because of this device, you are called a witch. Thank you, Terrence, for the speech that you presented today. My evaluation, I'm going to tell you in 3 parts. 3 parts in terms of what I heard, what I saw, and what I felt. So in terms of what I heard, I could clearly hear that you were very passionate about the topic that you were speaking about. I liked the fact that you started off with your opening question and statement that really grabbed us as your audience. I also heard you when you reached the body of your speech, you talked about 3 specific items that you were going to look at. So that gave us an indication of what to expect, 3 specific items, which you then went on to say, which was the limiting beliefs, the obstacles, and how we can take actions if we want to conquer whatever it is that we are pursuing. So in terms of what I saw, I think as has been mentioned, in terms of your Zoom presence, your head was cut off. So just be mindful. It's always good to log in early into a meeting and just make sure that obviously your audio and your visual, that they are well, so that by the time you are presenting your speech, that you don't have to worry about those specific items. So I'd encourage you in future, just make sure that you log in early and test those specific items. And also it looked like in terms of your Zoom presence, you were also only on one specific item on the screen. So it left quite a lot of part of your screen which was very blank, and there were parts I was actually wondering, okay, maybe you are going to move to that specific site to do something, but I didn't see any of that happening. So in terms of what I felt that you needed to know your speech, because it was clear that you kept on turning to the side to look at your the several points that you were going through. It's always good to maybe just practice a little bit, just so that you know the general flow of your speech, because every time when you turn your head to look at your notes, you end up disengaging with the audience. Sometimes I know in this environment, it's good, put your notes around your screen so then you don't lose focus with your audience as you are presenting if you're not you're not so sure about what you'll be speaking about. You started off your speech talking about how AI could be something that was conquered. And then towards, so I wished, and then when you went on to tell us about the 3 aspects that we can use to conquer, I wished you could have inserted a personal story of how you have applied these 3 specific items to show us how you conquered, how you use them to conquer whatever obstacle or challenge that you had faced. Other than that, well done. Love the passion that you had in your speech. Be mindful of your Zoom presence and try and practice your speech, and maybe just inject a personal story just to add, just to ensure that we as your audience also remember your speech. Good luck in all your future speeches. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Leya. A big round of applause to all our amazing evaluators who have given the gift of evaluation to both the speakers today. Toastmaster Leya, I like the way you structured your evaluation as the speaker had structured his speech with 3 points. I am a very big fan of evaluators structuring their speech, be it style, substance, structure, method, matter, manner, take something from the speech, whatever it is. Take something from the speech or use some method that works for you and do some research and development around the methods and methodologies. And that is something which I would be looking more and more from our leadership evaluators. You reinforced what was amazing in the speaker, that was his passion. It came across. He was passionate about the speaker, and when he spoke about AI and the conference that he went, then the 3rd point, it was more of a different thing. One thing that you highlighted was there could have been stories. And I felt the speaker started with an amazing story, but all the 3 points, he just gave examples. It was plain examples like a baby does this, right? But we would have loved to see a story where you broke a limiting belief, or you could have used somebody else's story where they broke a limiting belief. Rather than just saying that, that was also good, but I felt that is what Leya had highlighted, that it could have been, each point could have been wrapped around an amazing story. So overall, I believe, Leya, it was pretty helpful for our speaker. Let me call upon our trainer to share his experience and ask questions. Toastmaster Brahm.
There you go.
Yes.
Mr. Zoom Master, sorry, my video was off there. I was just testing some technology, as always, of course, trying to push it to the next level. So, Vinod, what do you think? Now, you see, we've already done the first round. Okay, so let's notch it up a bit. And I know that Terrence is in a learning mode, so don't be afraid to sort of say it a bit at a higher notch, Vinod. I know we all have empathy, but also notch up the actual real feedback that you would think at a more, say, professional level. What would it be, for Terrence?
I would first highlight one thing that all the evaluators missed, that was there in your education session. That was, nobody mentioned that this speech was informational type. The type of speech was informational, and for that type, he had very clearly mentioned. So whether the speech was persuasive, motivational, all this thing, I believe none of the evaluators touched on that aspect, that what was the purpose of the speech. It was basically to inform that these are the 3 things, if you have, you will be successful in life, or whatever the message the speaker wanted. And I believe it was more of a speech that you give in a club like 3rd or 4th time. It needs a lot of practice. Of course, as our evaluators have mentioned, that the speaker was looking at notes. When you have 3 points, nobody knows your stories. So for example, if you had just a limiting belief and a baby, so that's your speech. Whatever you say, we have to believe. We don't know whether you forget or not. The second thing, overcoming obstacle, right? Rags to riches. That can be a pointer somewhere. The third was take bold step, putting the book down. That's it. If you have these 3 pointers, you don't need to look here and there. It would have been very clear. I believe that would have been more effective. And every message could have been, instead of examples, you could have given stories that would have really drawn us in.
Right.
Like you gave an example of baby, and see, we all are adults. Having a curiosity like baby is good. But what you mentioned was to achieve a goal, be like a baby. Logical, I am a debater, so I think sometimes you make a mistake like a baby. As an adult, it may take 4 or 5 years back. Like you may go 4 or 5 years back and you have to start. So usage of words, like being curious like baby is okay, but when you say take actions like baby or run behind a goal like baby, babies, even if they get hurt or they don't get back, adults do that. They have that intelligence. So somewhere logically also, I felt it could have been, the words could have been much better. What did you feel, Brahm?
So I think what Terrence was trying to say, and he didn't quite say it, and so I get what you're saying, is, there's this analogy that is used in the motivational, inspirational world, and I have used it a long time back, is when a baby stands up to walk and it falls down. It'll stand up again to walk and it falls down and it doesn't give up. And eventually it runs. And here you are, and here I am. We were babies before and we did that. So I think that was the intention perhaps, but it was not clear from what you're saying, Vinod, is that clarity should have been there, which means, of course, you could have just talked of one point and expanded into a big story and told us, like a baby, conquer your fears, conquer AI, conquer technology. 100 years ago, it was a witchcraft and so on. So bring back the opening into the conclusion as to what you open with, the conqueror and the witchcraft. But nowadays, you have to understand technology. You have to work with technology so the technology doesn't overtake you. So those sort of things. So the summary at the end could have been better. And it didn't quite tie in the title with how it began to suddenly where it ended, because those 3 points didn't quite say about the technology, right? But in the end, technology suddenly was thrown in. What do you think, Vinod?
Yes, I believe the opening was very good. And I thought I would be listening to a speech which would revolve around artificial intelligence and how we have to change and conquer our fear, if we have any fear in us, to adapt to the technology. But then it became more of like our speaker became sage from the stage, like saying that don't have limiting belief or don't overcome obstacles.
Yeah.
And that was more like reporting that you can do that. But I think he is an amazing storyteller. And if he could have used the stories to press this point, it will go to a next level. We can actually give a keynote in a conference.
I was about to say the same thing. This could be a keynote speech with just those 3 points, right? It could be at least 30-minute to 40-minute presentation, depending on how you sort of milk all the different points and bring all those nuances to life. The biggest thing, as your evaluators have already mentioned, you used a cell phone, iPad, whatever it was, and so it was cut off, and the speaker really needs the full width of the Zoom to be able to speak effectively, and of course the eye contact. You perhaps reading notes or looking at notes, but eye contact is crucial because the audience in an online world, the lens is the critical thing, right? Besides the other things which are critical. Vinod, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And I believe if he could have started like what the author or the speaker did, throw a book or throw something,
props,
that would have been really amazing. So I like the 3 points were very powerful. I am an NLP practitioner, so we do a lot of limiting belief and all these things. So it comes around. So these are all very powerful points.
Yes.
Each point can be a 30-minute speech. So I believe the speaker has got a lot of potential, can work on each and every point separately as a 5-minute speech.
Wonderful. Let's bring the speaker on here. Terrence, if you can spotlight Terrence here, that'd be great. Because we want to give more value to Terrence here. I mean, he's over here, we are talking over there, and there are many steps for Terrence to get to there. But Terrence, are you there?
Yes,
hey, Terrence,
I'm right here.
What do you think? I mean, the learnings for you today, and could you take this to over here? I mean, there are several steps, of course, but could you? And what do you think?
Yes, definitely possible, and I'm willing and able to do that. The first and foremost, I intended to use a camera so that I could stand, and that robbed me of the space.
Right.
So I believe that is an area I'll practice so that I'm able to utilize, because I wanted to use three areas of the screen, the extreme left, right, and middle, but I couldn't do that with the phone. So thank you for that. I believe this is a speech I can give again, especially in my community club, because of the message that lies herein. Thank you.
And you know what, Terrence, if you're able to attend on Tuesdays, let's practice that, you know, and make it into a keynote for you, so that you can go and speak at your Toastmasters conferences, and maybe, since you are in IT, professionally. Get paid, man.
Yes.
That's why we are here. That's why we are here. Absolutely. Perfect. So also, if you can highlight, spotlight Nzinga here, and let's have a chat with Nzinga finally. So we'll take a few more minutes than what's on the agenda there, if you can. Nzinga, now, I know again, you are somewhere over here and we are talking way over there, so, you know, so there are steps that you need to take to get, of course, to that end. And so what do you think, Nzinga?
This is what I'm here for, Brahm, and you know that. Absolutely.
I love that. Yes.
I am an introvert in anything relating to anything beyond the professional world. If I have to deliver a presentation relating to my work, I go there, I do what I have to do, I'm okay. If I meet you in a coffee shop and you say good morning, I will look at you and say, I probably wouldn't answer, and I would go away because that's who I am. I am a I don't know. I like to be on my shell, and
well, Nzinga, here's a secret that you don't know. When somebody asks me, you know, from 1 to 10, what rate yourself as an introvert? If they ask me, I will say I rate myself as 100, not 10. I'm an extreme introvert, and Vinod, I get it that you're an introvert. Introverts tend to have more empathy, so they tend to hold back in the beginning. I had to learn to do this. It has been a practice, 28 years of practice to be able to get here. I'm an extreme introvert. I, on a regular basis, and Tony knows, you know, when we meet in a bar and I'm the quietest, Tony's the loudest and I'm the quietest. Tony, you can attest to that, because I'm a high introvert.
Speak up.
But when I'm on stage, I've learned to talk and say what I have to say. Otherwise, I would not put food on my table. So it's a practice, of course. And I said the word practice. The practice, training every day.
that's why you see me every week.
Awesome, wonderful. So last
Just
but to wrap up, okay, Vinod, go ahead.
Thank you. I would just like to say that as Brahm said, 100, I am also in the same category. My wife calls me a person with antisocial mental attitude. I don't like crowds. I clamp. I don't like to talk to people, but only on the screen or stage. I like to share things. So introversion, I believe, is a very good thing. And as Dr. Ralsei Smedley said, that Toastmaster is a laboratory. We all come here to practice our leadership and speaking skills. So we all are here in this journey together. And thank you very much to both the speakers and all the evaluators. Thank you.
Superb. So, and finally, in conclusion for me, so there you go, 100 years of thinking. Critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen, brings clarity to the audience. There's conviction. You begin to have conviction in your voice. And when you have that clarity for the audience, there's conviction in your voice, you begin to become credible for the audience. It means you create trust. And therefore, you begin to grow in confidence. the underlying thing in this critical thinking and in your speaking is that your speech has to be authentic. It is you and it's your material. You do not sort of, taking AI and putting something together and say, I'll come and speak to it. And if it's not you and it's not yours, and you don't even believe in it and you can't internalize it, don't do it. Then you will miss all these points that are up here on this slide over here. So it has to be authentic. It has to be your thing, like you believe in it totally and you want to speak about it. That's what you want to speak about. That is the reason why I say that any speech that you do here should be easily be transferable out in the real world, because that is what you really want to speak about in the real world. And therefore you can then have critical thinking in it, conviction, credibility, and confidence, which is what leadership speak is all about. Speak as a leader, be heard as a leader, speak with confidence, and voila, that's why we're here. I'm done. Mr. G, over to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Zoom Master. Thank you, Mr. TMOD.
Thank you very much. So I will give my general evaluation report quickly for this entire meeting in 2 to 3 minutes. So first of all, I would like to give a big round of applause to our timer and to our Zoom master, who have done amazing job throughout the meeting with patience and precision. Thank you very much. So now a surgeon at arms, energetic, opened the meeting in a nice way. The video, everything was done. Then came our Toastmaster of the day, the most handsome man in this universe and the most inspiring man. Tony, you really live this theme. Like when you are speaking, I can feel that you believe in this theme completely. As leaders, we need to have critical thinking. And that is the main role of a Toastmaster of the day, TMOD, that they imbibe the theme into the meeting in such a way that everybody gets something from that. And you did that. Observe, analyze, apply. I am a debater. I am a very, you will not imagine. We say that, for example, if you see a pink dog somewhere on the road, common people usually will say all dogs in this village are pink. A person with little bit probability would say some dogs in this village is pink. A critical thinking person would say at least one dog in this village is pink. So that is clarity of thinking, and I could see that going through completely in the meeting. Thank you very much for that and holding. Even before the meeting was done, there was so much preparation done. I had attended the meeting, and Tony is very sincerely attended and gave suggestions. Thank you very much for that. Then came our toast, our DTM Rozy. Like when she comes on screen, it is like you feel like a rose. Red rose is blossoming on the screen when she talks very slowly and it goes in depth. So the toast was also great. Then both the speakers. I like this format where 5 people evaluate, and I would encourage this to be done every quarter. So it can be like on our balance sheet that quarterly we are doing this, and whatever feedback was done, given over here, let's see that are we implementing that feedback. So I was discussing with Brahm that there is something called as Kirkpatrick's model for evaluation, which anybody in learning and development is over here, they know about that. If you go and look into the Kirkpatrick's evaluation model, the first is basically only feeling and reaction. The second is behavior, and the fourth is result. So we want that result. We need our speakers, like we saw today, our speaker improving after the first speech. That change we need to see. Tony, you had mentioned something. We can't analyze values, so we will look for behaviors. So we will look for speaking behaviors, your voice, your gestures, the authenticity, the smile, the energy, the radiance, all these things. So overall, as a general evaluator, I feel I am blessed to be part of this amazing meeting. And even though it was extensive, 8 to 8, I enjoyed it. So all the very best, and looking forward for the next meeting and giving it back to the handsome man, to the Toastmaster of the day. Toastmaster Tony, back to you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, General Evaluator Vinod. Because we're behind on time, I'm going to be very brief with the summary. Of course, this meeting's theme was critical thinking, and we show that in our speeches and evaluations and the way we conducted this meeting. And Vinod, and to all our evaluators, commendable job on the observations and analysis. of critical thinking. Now, in summary, I'm going to refer to the first part of Toastmasters International's mission statement. We provided a supportive and positive learning experience today. We did. And I believe that Ralph Smedley would be proud of what we did in living up to part of his legacy. So thank you to everyone for all you have done today, before, now. Now I will turn this meeting over to the president in his role as president, Brahm Memone.
Tony, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being in this meeting. Let me just change my technology so I can see everyone well. Now is my time to talk to the guests and see what their feedback is and how they felt this meeting has been. And as you can see, quite a number of guests, they're still here, despite we running like more than 2 hours and 40 minutes almost. Normally, our meetings are not that long. They are 2 hours and 20 minutes. Today is 2 hours, 40 minutes and still counting. So we are really dedicated to our speaking, our communication, how we speak with conviction, confidence, clarity, critical thinking, and becoming very good at communication, because communication is key skill, more key than anything else, any other skill that you ever have. Communication is key, both verbal and non-verbal. Today, of course, we were focusing a lot on the verbal part. In future, we'll also be focusing on non-verbal. Our first session that we did in July, first session we did in focused on both verbal and non-verbal and all that stuff, but it was too much. Today, we just wanted to focus on a slice of it, improve on it, and then do the next session later on. I would like to introduce to you all, before I talk to the guest, is Gilda Schla from Calgary. She's a brand new member, and she was in a YLPA meeting this morning, so that's why she couldn't join us earlier on. But Gilda, welcome to Leadership Speak. Anything from you, Gilda?
Thank you for welcoming me, and I'm looking forward to learning from everybody. This is my first meeting, and I came halfway. Amazing evaluation. Great. I listened to one speech, but the evaluation is incredible, really useful. You guys touched on every point. Lots of learning for me. I'm so glad I joined this club. Back to you.
Thank you. And Gilda joined this club before even coming to this club. So she must be really glad, like $70 well spent. Okay, to the guest here, we have Amjad Nadeem. Are you still here, Amjad? Thank you so much for sticking around if you are here. I think I can see he was here a minute ago. So
yes.
Do we have Amjad?
Yes,
Oh,
I
there
am.
if you can spotlight Amjad there for us with me. So
I am here.
Yeah, Zoom. Oh, hi there. So now I know that I read the guest book already, and you said I'm only looking for 1 hour meeting, and here you are 2.5 hours later, 2 hours 40 minutes later. You're still here. Don't you have anything better to do?
Yeah, because I really had no idea that there are 2 hours meetings also. So
Yes.
wherever I have seen only 1 hour meeting, so
Oh, okay.
that is the reason. So I was, confused.
Amjad, I've always belonged to clubs that have run for 2 hours, and here we run for 2 hours and a bit more. The reason being, there's a lot of learning that we do here. We don't have table topics in our meetings. We don't have our counter and all that stuff. We focus on speaking and evaluations in all of our meetings. And of course, this was only a training meeting. We have training meetings on a regular basis, but not every meeting is a training meeting. So having said that, and you're looking for a club, what do you think? Now, I know you're looking for 1 hour, and this is like 2 hours and 20 minutes normally, our meetings. So what do you think?
Personally, now I realize that for every member, after some time, there is a point of time comes when you need to think to move towards a club like your club. For every member, there will be a time, or somebody should come The reason is for initial start, normal clubs are good, like you have a grammarian, you have a table topics and these kind of things for the practice. But evaluation is such a thing where I was very much scared when I joined the first club, and gradually I started, and now I have seen there is not one evaluator, there are 5 evaluators, and on top of that there is a trainer to evaluate the evaluators. So that is really a wonderful thing, and this is the thing which we need to learn, and this is the way we can learn. So at this point, so because of the length and the timings, we were starting very early, like 7:15 to 8:15 early in the morning. So I'm used to of that, and my schedule was that. Next week I have some other commitments, but maybe the week after I will be contacting you to what to do next. So I will let you know according to that. But only thing is, next week I have a lot of other commitment. I had no idea about that. That is the thing.
No problem.
So
Just
I
to,
enjoyed it, and
I'm glad.
my knowledge increased. Like, this is the way to learn in Toastmasters. Then everyone should, and I will let my other members know, other members of the town and count, which is dissolved, and people, all the members are looking for new club. I will let them know also that this is a wonderful club to join. Yeah.
So Nadeem, yeah, today was just a training meeting. Normally we don't have 2 speakers and 5 evaluators. We have 1 speaker, 1 evaluator, 1 speaker, 1 evaluator, of course. But the evaluations and the speaking is more advanced than normal, and you learn how to do that.
Yes, not next week, but the week after I will be coming.
And definitely Leya Musunga here will connect with you. You put your name in the guest book, I saw, and so she'll connect with you. We are already connected on WhatsApp. If you want to send me a message, I have not a problem. But also talk to Leya. Leya is here, so as well. Absolutely. And yeah, please bring guests from town and gown. We are happy to serve everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bea from Budapest, Hungary.
Yes. Hi.
Hello, Bea. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I might turn on the light because it's actually evening here.
Oh, okay.
And that should be better, yeah.
So is it 7:15 your time or something?
6:15.
Oh,
6:15,
European
but
time,
it's
not
winter
okay.
time, so yeah.
Okay.
Winter time, so it's
Oh, yeah,
already quite
Great
dark.
a bit more Eastern. Okay.
I loved very much your program. And I did save the link. I did learn a lot. I'm a Toastmaster for 13 years, and
wow.
We tried to start an advanced club in Hungary as well, but it did not work because it just lasted for some time. And I believe that this kind of advanced programs are very helpful to complement the regular Toastmaster meeting that we have in Budapest. So I am thinking about, I definitely cannot make every Saturday because that's also family program. But even if I can come like 2 or 3 times a month, I think that would still be very beneficial. And I just love the feedback, the attitude of all it's really the growth mindset attitude of everyone in the club. So I will follow up with Leila on that, and I have the link, so I will get back to her.
Wonderful, Bea. So yeah, keep coming as a guest. We don't mind at all. But if you filled in the guest book, I didn't see your name in the guest book. Did you fill the guest book? I don't think so.
No, because I did not complete yet. I just clicked on it, but I wanted to listen to what's happening.
Oh, I see.
So I figured that I can complete it afterward as well when we
Not a
finish.
problem. Please do complete it now, and then Leya will get in touch with you and make sure that you get the links.
Absolutely.
And all that. So, Leya, if you can post the link again in the chat for Bea here and all other guests.
No, I have it. I already opened it. I just did not fill out.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bea.
Very much.
And we'll talk soon.
Congratulations, everyone. That was amazing.
Thank you. Okay, now let's have a look at on my screen here and see where else can I find it. There are a number of guests here. We have Anthony Odor. Hello, Anthony, are you there? Because I'm only going to talk to guests who are here for the first time that I haven't seen on a regular basis. While we are waiting for the guests to put on their video, I want to also welcome another brand new member, Suresh Kapiti, Distinguished Toastmaster Suresh Kapiti. If you can please spotlight Suresh there. Hi, Suresh. Suresh is in Hyderabad. So hi, Suresh, welcome.
Good day, everyone. I'm very happy joined as a member in Leadership Speak. Last 2 weeks, I could not able to. So because of some foreign trip. Am I clear?
Yeah,
my voice.
I can hear you.
Yeah. I was little tired. Okay. So
no problem. Welcome to the club, and let's get you going, and put you on the agenda and then take it from there.
Yeah.
So welcome, Suresh. And of course, Suresh joined about 2 weeks ago, but he's been traveling in Malaysia and Singapore, I believe, out there. So he wasn't able to attend, but he's back in Hyderabad. Which city are you in?
Hyderabad.
Hyderabad is the city. Okay. All right. Because I don't know too much of the geography sometimes. Okay. Thank you so much for being a member. We'll talk soon. Okay, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't see any other guests that are newer here. So I would also like to welcome Guerday Felix, who's also a brand new member. She's been around for a couple of weeks, I believe, but hasn't quite participated. So Guerday, welcome. I think we did introduce you a little while back, but still. Me and Guerday and a couple of other Charlie's Angels were prominent in creating my week. So
yeah, we still keep that name, Charlie's Angels.
Well, I'm dressed for it, right?
Yes. I think this is my second meeting since I've joined. That was a beautiful meeting. I love the fact that each speaker had 5 evaluators. What a beautiful gift to give to the speaker and evaluator. So that was well done. Thank you, Brahm.
And you are the Pathways Chair in the district, as well as now you're going to be in the education department with us.
Yes.
To help us with the new LMS system and the new base camp in case some members need some help.
Yes, I am excited about it. If anybody knows me, they know how much I love Pathways. And now that it has moved to the new LMS, please go and take a look. And if you have any questions, send them to me, because that will do a couple of things for me to hone in to that new platform and be able to answer your questions. And it is my privilege and honor to do so. Back to you, Brahm.
Thank you very much. I think I've introduced the other newer members earlier when they first came into the meeting. So I believe I've covered everyone. So with
you
that,
have Fabian, I think, who's also here.
we did introduce him when he first came into the
Okay.
room at the beginning of the meeting. So we were able to get to him. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will pass it back to our past district governor and our Toastmaster of the day, distinguished Toastmaster Tony Bratschitsch.
Okay, well, our first guest said it very well. This is the way to learn, right? And in a way, we are a learning institute. It's my pleasure, I guess, or my duty to adjourn the meeting. And so, it's maybe not a pleasure. It's been a great meeting. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.